Assalamu alaikum students. This is Ms. Sarwat Zakir, Islamia teachers for O levels 2058. Yesterday we had already discussed about the questions which can be included in the paper 1 question number 2, because there are lots of topics which are not included and they are not the part of the CIE exam, but they are just given in the books and notes and everywhere. So please do not go for them. One topic is Nasikh and Mansukh also, which is not the part of the syllabus at all. Please do not put a lot of efforts in that. Right? Today we will be talking about the Sharia law. Now another topic which is compulsory, which can come in the paper 2 question number 2 also, and in paper 1 question number 2 also. This can be the part of both of the papers, right? So you must be very much vigilant in to understand this, because this is actually the science of law in Islam. The science of law in Islam, this is very much important. We also call it Sharia law. It is very important to understand it, right? Sharia law, or the science of law in Islam, or Sharia law, because in every if you see something deeply or thoroughly, it becomes the science of that. So science of the Islamic laws, it was also invented, it was also made by mujtahideen. We use the word mujtahideen for that, right? Mujtahideen. Now you need to know some of the terms. Now when we say mujtahideen, there are 4 school of thoughts in Islam which are followed by all the Muslims all over the world. Four schools of thought, and they all are on the right way, right? We cannot claim for any of them that they are not right and they are wrong. They all are on the right way. They had done their research, they worked on making the Islamic laws, so they all are on the right way. Amongst them, number 1 is, who had the maximum followers, Imam Abu Hanifa, right? Other is Imam Malik. Other is Imam Shafi'i, right? 4th is Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. Don't write the word humble, H-U-M-B-L-E, right? This is Hanbal, H-U-N-B-A-L, Hanbal. So these 4 imams are followed in the whole world by the Sunni Muslims, and they all are supposed to be on the right way. None of them is wrong, right? So these are the 4 school of thoughts. Now they are called mujtahideen. You need to know this word mujtahideen, right? Now when we talk about the Sharia law, or when we talk about the science of Islamic law, why do we need it? We have a question in our mind, that why do we need it? Why that was imperative to create a science to understand the law of the Islam. Now we need to understand about the commandments of Quran. When we see the commands of Quran, there are 2 types of commands in the Quran. Number 1 are the general commands, and the other are specific commands. So general commands and specific commands, what is the difference? Now for the general commands, they can be based on articles of faith, like the things which are obvious, and we have to believe on them without finding any logic, or without we have to believe unseen. All the articles of faith, when we talk about Tawheed, then we say Risalat, then we say believe in angels, believe in books, believe in predestination and decree, believe in the day of judgment. So these all the articles of faith, whether we do not need to understand them, because we need to believe in them as they are, right? So we have, as Allah says in Quran, yu'minuna bil ghaibi, and they have unseen belief. So this is the unseen belief of us. So we don't need to take out the commandments, or we need to elaborate them, because they are very clear. There is no need to find out the logic in that. And then another general commandments are ethics. Means if Allah is asking us to wala takullahuma uffin wala tanharhuma, they do not say uff to your parents, and do not deny them or refuse them, and do not behave badly with them. So when we talk about ethics, the rights of neighbors, the rights of teachers, the rights of everybody around us, everybody has a right on us. So these rights and the ethics, they don't need any specification, in which particular way you will serve your parents, by physically, financially, or what. It's up to you totally that how you are doing this, how you are serving this, but you are supposed to follow the code of conduct. So, but there is no specification in that, right? These are the these are the general commandments. But when we say specific commandments, they are based on the worships. Now, when we say worships, we means pillars of Islam, because all the pillars of Islam is basically based on the worship. So when we start Shahada, definitely Shahada is just a declaration. So but there are some specification in that also. There are 7 aspects of Shahada also. When we will start pillars of Islam, inshallah I will elaborate them. So this is also considered as the worship. Then Salah is a worship, and in Salah there is a lot of specification. Like for example, we need to elaborate it, like there is no Salah without Fatiha. Then Prophet said, offer the prayer as you see me praying. Then there are lots of things in the prayer, the timings of the prayer, the satar, the facing the Qibla. So there are lots of details in Salah, same as fasting, same as Zakat, and same as Hajj. So for these particular things, we need to know the details, right? In worship, or in we could say that another one is worship, which is pillars of Islam, and the other is halal and haram, the specification of halal and haram. What is halal and what is haram? Which earning is halal, which earning is haram, which food is halal, which food is haram, which action is halal and which action is haram. So we need a specification in this also. We need a lot of details in also. So when we talk about these two things, we need to when we talk about the articles of faith, we don't need to consult towards any other source to interpret it, because Quran itself is describing in the detail. So we do not need to. Sometimes Prophet ﷺ also said some things, but we use them as a reference. We use those ahadith as a reference. But when we come to the worships or halal and haram, we need the details. We need the interpretation. For this interpretation, we have 3 sources of law. Now, the second, this source is hadith, another source is ijma, and this source is qiyas. So for explaining, elaboration of these things, means worships and the specification of halal and haram, we need to interpret them with 3 things. Number 1 is hadith, number 2 is ijma, and number 3 is qiyas. So when we say Quran and hadith, definitely Quran is asal. When we talk about here the commands of Quran, these commands of Quran asal, and all other specifications are coming out of that. So sometimes Quran give the details by itself also for something. For example, the time of the salah, Quran is itself saying that inna salata kanat alal mu'minina kitaban mawquta. Salah is obligatory upon you as per the prescribed timing, right? So we know that salah is obligatory as per the timings, because Quran is specifying by itself. However, the details are given by the Prophet. Now these two have become the primary sources of law, because Quran is elaborating itself also. So these both are the primary sources of law. Means when we are stuck in some of the commandments, some of the commandments of the Quran, and we are unclear about them and we need to clear them, then first of all we need to consult toward the Quran. If we are finding the details in the Quran, then we will go towards the Quran at first place. But if we are unable to find in the Quran, Quran is silent about something, as the method of the prayer is not elaborated in Quran anywhere. So we will consult towards the other primary source, that is hadith. Right? Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is the benchmark for the interpretation of Quran. And it is giving the specification for everything, like maximum things which are mentioned in the Quran. Now, for the method of the prayer, we see in the Quran, Allah says, establish the regular prayer and pay zakat. But the specification of prayer is not giving, the method of the prayer is not given anywhere. So we see the hadith of the Prophet, it is written in the hadith, we companions had recorded many times that Prophet said that, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli, offer the prayer as you see me praying. Now, the method of the prayer of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has been recorded already. So we found out the way. Sometimes he applied different methods as per the hour. So they are also recorded. And some of the sects follow that particular method, some of the sects follow the particular method. It doesn't matter, right? We are not going into that debate, because we are preparing for the CIE, so our focus should not be diverted. Now, if we are unable to see anything in the hadith, if we are unable to find anything in the hadith, then we will consult towards ijma. We will go towards ijma. Now, ijma and qiyas, they both are the secondary sources of Sharia law. When we are unable to find anything in Quran or Hadith, then we will go towards the secondary sources, and they are ijma and qiyas. Ijma is something when Quran and Hadith both are silent about some challenge which we are facing just newly, and we are just confused that this is not mentioned in the Quran and Hadith. So we will go towards ijma. And if we are unable to find anything in ijma, then we will go for qiyas. Now, inshallah, in next lecture I will elaborate the whole details that how Quran formulates the law, formulation of law by Quran, and how Hadith is formulating the law. So we will, because these questions separately comes in the exam. Like in exam, the question comes that how Quran formulates the laws, and then another question comes that how Hadith formulates the law. The question which is about Quran formulation of the laws by Quran, it comes in the paper 1, question number 2, and the formulation of the laws by Hadith is in paper 2, question number 2, right? So we will do both of them separately, but you should keep in mind that one is about paper 1 and one is about paper 2. And another question which come together, like how Quran and Hadith work together, this can come in both of the papers under the category of question number 2, compulsory question. And sometimes the question can come that how these 4 sources work together. So this question can also come in paper 1 and paper 2 both. Same as the details of ijma can come in paper 1 and paper 2 both. Same as the details of qiyas, because in 2017 the details of ijma had come in paper 2. Students were surprised because they were considering that ijma is only the part of paper 1, but it had come in paper 2 also. So we need to be ready for all sort of unpredictable things, right? And then qiyas, as ijma had come in paper 2, so qiyas can always be coming in paper 2 also. So in paper 1, in paper 2, qiyas and ijma both can come, right? So we need to be getting ready for that. Inshallah, tomorrow I will be giving the lecture about the Quran, how Quran formulates the law. Then you will be able to understand that how Quran works in a way. Jazakumullahu khair. I hope everything you have understood it clearly, that why we need to make the Sharia law and why this is the part of our syllabus. And another thing, that if you feel any query, if you will have any query, any problem, if you are confused in anything, you can always write in the comment. I will inshallah answer you as soon as possible, because I am very much responsive in the answers. Right? I give the quick response. So inshallah I will try my best. Remember me in your prayers. Thank you so much.